All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another edition of RecTech Live. As always, I'm your host, Chris Russell. A little slow today. It was my birthday last night, so I was just a little tired getting up this morning after an evening out at home. But that's a story for another day. Looking forward to a good conversation today with Max Armbruster. He's the CEO of TalkPush, which we're going to talk about today, and talk about the world of conversational recruiting. Just a reminder, next week I'll be talking to the CEO of 70 Million Jobs, which is a second chance job market for those with criminal histories looking to get back into the employment market itself. And we'll talk about what's going on with that type of candidate base and what's happening in that sector of the workplace. Today we're going to talk about conversational recruiting. And Max, you put out a good tweet the other day. It said, a little more conversation, a little less upload your resume, please. So I want to kind of start the conversation off there and talk about that. Kind of, what did you mean by that, first of all?
First of all, Chris, happy birthday. And you don't look your age at all. I will get into it. Sorry. So what I mean by that is when we're talking to talent, we, in general, like as human beings, first of all, we hire people who have personalities, who have commonalities with us, and it wouldn't, we get these impressions that are built in, that are human nature, that are intuitive, sorry, and those impressions matter. And I think that recruitment really starts ideally with a conversation and with a feeling, and that the best way to enable that from a technology standpoint is to deliver technology that helps to start conversations. And we'll get into what that means exactly, and practically speaking. But I can't really say that I spend much time looking at resumes. We've all read the statistic. Recruiters spend 7 seconds or less per resume. I don't think I spend that much, honestly. I think whenever somebody comes in, it's what's their last job title, perhaps. That's it. Everything else is a conversation for me as fast as possible, and that's the message that we want to carry, and then the technology we want to build.
Nice. Okay. So give everyone a kind of a brief overview of what TalkPush is. I'm also curious about the history of the company. When did it start? How did it get started? That kind of stuff.
Yeah. Started more than 4 years ago now. And I started it. It was an observation I made in the market that while there were some great automated screening solutions using video technology, for example, we didn't have a solution that was very low touch and easy for candidates. So, when you do a video interview, you typically have to stand in front of webcam, as I am today, or download an app on your phone, on a smartphone. And at the time, for blue collar entry level workers, there were, 4 or 5 years ago, there were still a lot of people who didn't have smartphones. I know it's kind of like crazy to even remember and go back that far, but that was the case. There was still like 20-30% of the market that didn't have smartphones. So we built a solution to address that, to initiate conversations with automated phone calls. Well, people didn't have smartphones, people had phones. So we started calling people and sending SMS, and that was our first product. And since then, 2016, it was a big year for us, is when we built our first chatbot. It was when Facebook opened its API to allow third parties to build chatbots on top of it that could take in inquiries and answer questions. And we immediately saw the application for it, because already at the time, 2016, a big part of our volume for our customers that are using our CRM platform, a very big part of the volume coming in was from Facebook and Instagram, because we focus on high volume recruitment situations, and our client base were already using Facebook and Instagram a lot, and they were then using our technology to engage with candidates. So it made complete sense for us to just get into that chatbot space as fast as possible, which is what we did. And we, I think, became one of the first, if not the first, recruitment chatbot on Facebook Messenger. And that took us to a lot of places because it's an interesting space. There's a lot of interest. People want to try it out. And now we've been, quote unquote, trying it out for 2.5 years. And of course, the product has taken, a much broader scope. And now we process millions of candidates annually this way, going through multiple channels, not just Facebook, but also SMS and websites and messaging apps like WhatsApp or WeChat. And yeah.
So is this a chatbot, or is it basically more of a recruiting CRM, Max?
Yeah, the chatbot thing for me, it's I describe it as the front end. So we have two product managers in TalkPush. One of them is focused on the CRM and the recruiters, and the other one is focused on the chatbots and the candidates. That's broadly speaking, how we split up the responsibilities within. And the two, of course, are completely intertwined. Just like you would want to see all your email history from the candidates, and why a lot of CRM today they track where did the candidate come from? Did he go from the career websites to your Facebook page to something else? Can we track the history? Can we do outbound advertising to that candidate, and can we follow the whole journey? Now, our CRM does the same thing with the extra complexity that it has to capture every interaction, every question the candidate asks through all these different channels, and would allow you, the recruiter, to see everything that's going. I mean, all the conversations that one candidate had with your brand, with your employer brand.
Yeah. And you started in? Did you start in Asia? Is that where your first you went to market?
Yes. Yeah. So I started an ATS company back in 2008, 2009 in Singapore. Sold it a few years later. Saw the opportunity in the market that I just described, and then started TalkPush. And our first customer was in Asia, and now we work in like 13 different countries, and we have offices around the world. We have 5 offices for 50 employees around the world. So we're very global.
Yeah. The whole Asian market is so mobile first, right? It's such a phone driven culture, I think. Talk about that,
Totally.
lessons you learned from some of that over the years.
Yeah, totally. I think in a way it kind of it puts Asia a little bit ahead in terms of behavior ahead of the US or Europe in terms of that behavior. So it helps to drive our product innovation, I think. I don't think it's that much difference in the sense that if you take public transportation anywhere in the world, you'll see people glued to their phone, and it's no different here. I guess they're just glued a little bit more, you could say. One behavior that you'll notice a lot in China and Asia is a lot of people using WhatsApp and WeChat to send each other voice notes. And while voice has taken off in the US with Alexa as a consumer and to do voice commands, it's been taken off for a long time in Asia as a way to communicate, because it's faster to send somebody a voice note than to type in a quick message, because the linguistic the Chinese alphabet is particularly hard to type. It's a bit slower to type. And so, even 5-6 years ago, we noticed people sending each other voice notes on WeChat. And now we're enabling that kind of behavior with our software. And when I'll show you in the demo is like, we can, you can listen to a candidate who sent you a voice note, and you can send a voice note back, that kind of stuff.
That's interesting. Yeah. Like even LinkedIn's gotten some of that. I think last year they came out with their own little audio icon on the messaging, right?
Totally. Yeah. They did that, and then they did the GIF. I don't know if you've been using it. But that's
yeah, I've
really,
seen a few of those. They're a little wonky, but I see some of the gist. They have those stickers too. If you upload an image or a video, you can put stickers on there.
yeah.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
it's, I mean, for people of a certain age who've just had their birthday, it seems a little ridiculous, but for for
They're
people
all
half our
cartoonish. I
age,
wish they were more. They should have been more professional looking. Like, they're all cartoonish looking. To me, I would rather you see more of a polished type of icon or something I can use that makes more sense on a particular photo or video I'm setting up there. But that's just me.
yeah. Yeah, I can tell you that they work. That's my comment on this, is that if you send a GIF to a candidate and it's contextual, it will get a way better response rate than, a few words.
Yeah. By the way, Max, I've always said that we need a whole set of recruiting emojis created for the industry. Like, send me your resume, bad candidate rejection, things like that. You should create those. That's a free tip for you.
Yeah. As soon as they've got a little bit more resources available, an emoji designer and a meme splainer.
There you go. So, talk about some of the generational differences you see, preferences you see with your candidates out there. How much of does this conversational interface work better for younger folks, or what are your thoughts on that?
Well, we're talking about a major decision that you're only going to make a few times in your life when you're changing jobs. So, it was a long time ago myself when I sent out resumes and application, but I remember being, pretty. I was willing to take quite a bit of abuse from, or digital abuse from any prospective employer in order to get my foot in the door. And as you get older, I guess you get a little bit more demanding. The power shifts a little bit more to you as your resume builds up, and so you're willing to, you're not willing to do quite as much. So I suppose at a certain age, people would expect to get that very personal touch, and they would they may be reticent to doing things like video interviews or long application forms. And I think that's reasonable and something that we have to adapt around. And I think if you want to have one solution, one CRM that handles your management level, executive level hires, all the way down to your graduates, university graduates, you'd better have a platform that allows you to get very personal. So I'd say the ability to send one-on-one messages, to call candidates and to automatically capture those notes. That's how we would support the more executive level hires. But our focus really is on the high volume. So then, specific behaviors on what works with 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, etc. We don't spend too much time worrying about that because of, the vast majority of our user base is young, and I mean like less than 40. So young from my reference standpoint, and those guys, basically, I don't know anybody who's ever, who's not chatting and who's not behaving like our normal candidates, chatting on Facebook Messenger or SMS and so on. And so, while a few years back, people would get pretty scared when I mentioned chatbots and AI, because they would think, oh, I don't think our talent pool is sophisticated enough to do that. It's really, I think they're past that now, and I'm talking even in markets which are quote unquote low tech, where you would think that they're quite low tech actually, with very much lower salaries and disposable income and technology, but people are still fine in interacting with a chatbot. So that I think that ship has sailed, but we still have to treat more experienced hires with more regards, more respect, and a more personal touch.
How do you keep the chatbot experience personal? How do you make it more human, in other words? Because there's a thought out there that these things you're talking to a robot. It's very impersonal. What do you do there specifically at TalkPush to change that dynamic?
Yeah. The trick, I think, is making sure that well, first of all, a few things. So on the bot itself, we spend a lot. We have a team of conversational designers who will go into the personality that you want to convey. So some brands are more conservative and you know, a little bit more formal. Some brands are more playful, and some brands are, you know, multilingual, for example. So we create these experiences that reflect the brand. We don't try to pretend that the bot is a human being, because when we deliver these messages with, ideally with some image content as well. So we said the GIF could be an image, could be anything. But the speed at which the communication is coming to the candidates is fast enough that, you know, anybody would know that this is not a human writing to me. This is a machine. So there's no real confusion there. But we would give typically each of those bots a name and a personality and an avatar, so that it's easier to extract information in that kind of conversational experience. Now that's on the design of the bot side. Now, for the human touch, we can actually support that by making sure that when the candidate gets to a critical stage, whether it be, you know, the hiring stage or the first interview or the reference check, and there are just some of these stages in the journey where you wouldn't want to automate, where you wouldn't want to have that personal touch. Our CRM allows the recruiter to take over from the bot and send a message. And then our CRM, I just found out, actually, I was told by our product team, allows you to decide when you send a personal message to the candidate, do you send it under your name or under the name of your company? So it can be seamless, where it's just everything is coming out of one company name, say Accenture, to name one of our customers. But it could be also Max at Accenture sends you a message. So we let our customers decide which mode they want to default to.
Gotcha. Interesting. Okay. And just one more question, Max, before we get to the demo. I mean, how do you look at this chatbot technology and other messaging ways of, you know, moving into the recruiting process here? And kind of how do you see it kind of playing? Do you think like ATSs will create their own chatbots? Do you think job boards will create their own chatbots? I mean, paint a little picture of the future for me, if you could.
I think I'm a bit biased. I see chatbots everywhere. I see them in my sleep. So
you have nightmares?
No, they're friendly. The bots are coming. No, I see them everywhere, and I have the Google alerts and so on. So I can say that because there's been so much demand and there's been so much interest in this space, and automation is such a key focus. And I think also the fact that the labor market is tilted towards the candidate right now means that people will invest a lot of time thinking about anything that can improve the candidate experience, and so anything that can make things faster and so on. So I think you'd be hard pressed to find a big vendor who does not have some form of chatbot or conversational technology that they're working on, simply because when you're selling to the enterprise, you want to check that box. People will, you know, the buying decision will often involve a procurement team, and they'll just want to make sure that, oh, chatbot covered. And even still a lot of buyers will buy chatbot just because they want to have that on their, you know, in their portfolio of tools. They haven't, you know, it's a little bit different doing that than really deeply thinking about it. So if you're an HRIS, there's a lot of big HRIS that have a chatbot that will handle things like, you know, vacation requests or FAQ for employee benefits and things like that. Nothing wrong with that, but for me, it's a little bit different. Everything is built on the conversation. And everything starts from there, and the whole software is built around that. So it's a different approach. It's kind of like saying, you know, you look at Slack, for example. Slack really is a conversational experience where you're chatting with your colleagues, and there are bots that are being built on that. You know, that's a real conversational software. or a real messaging app, and that's different than having, you know, a little FAQ bot sitting somewhere in your process. So, you know, buyer beware. There's a lot of different levels of conversational interfaces, and yeah, we're not talking about the same thing. So initially people did come to us just saying, I want a chatbot, but now they're getting a little bit more sophisticated.
Interesting. All right. Well, let's see this thing. I'm curious to get a peek, and I'm sure the viewers are well. If you're on the call, just feel free to chime in with a question on the chat there, and I'll ask it as Max goes along. By the way, Max is in Hong Kong. It's 2 a.m. there, so we appreciate him getting up for this.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I'll be in the U.S. in 2 weeks' time. So
yeah, where are you? Are you going to be exhibiting anywhere this year in the U.S. at any of the shows?
No, we do go to a lot of shows. We don't spend too much time exhibiting, so we don't have an agenda published out on that yet. But I really like the TA Tech the Congress by Peter Weddle. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So probably going to attend a few of those. But yeah, I'm not going to speak beyond that. I haven't committed anything yet.
Gotcha.
We haven't, but happy to connect anywhere in the on the planet. So, heading into the demo. Can you see my screen? One sec. Can you see it now?
Yeah, there it goes. It's coming. Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I won't be able to monitor any incoming questions, but
I'll do that
as
for
I'm
you.
doing this, but
yeah,
you're there for me. Great.
Yep.
Great.
So what are we looking at here? The dashboard.
Yeah, this is the place from where the recruiters are working. So
okay.
I could have started by showing you what it looks like on the candidate side, but I decided to go straight into the meat, which is what do the recruiters see, and we can go back to the candidate side a little bit later, and I'll show you. Well, you can check it out as well anytime on our website and get a feel for how that works on a career site, for example. So I'm showing you, giving you a quick one here. I mean, people have seen chatbots before by now, so
yeah.
No surprise here. Yeah, so I'll get back to that later. Here we have the main interface. So I'll go from left to right. Here is different stages of the recruitment process. Where are the candidates at? So coming in, this is for all my campaigns, all my requisitions, and I could go into specific requisition, and then I could see at which stage they're at in the recruitment process. Here I have the list of all the candidates, 184, and I can select some of them or one of them, and I can go look into them, ranked based on the last communication that came in. The middle panel is the conversation that happened between the candidate and the employer, and you can see on the right hand side the parts of the conversation that were handled by the robots, the AI, and the parts that were done by the human. And I can, at any point in time in these conversations with these different candidates, I can take over from the robot and start writing to the candidate. So I can write to Yashna. This is a live account. This is my personal account, and Yashna is somebody who works in our team, so she won't mind if I write to her. Things. So I could write from here, and I've got as well some different templates I could use. Here I have the option to send these messages through different platforms, and this is very unique to our technology. I haven't seen this anywhere else. Is the ability to handle these conversations across multiple communication channel. So if I send a message like this and I just click send, by default it will go to the last place where the candidate was talking to me. So in this case, Yashna was talking to me from Facebook Messenger, so she'll get a message on Facebook Messenger. But if I want to switch back to SMS or email or WhatsApp, these are all channels that can be enabled, so that I can have one interface here where I can see all the interactions that are related to a particular job, and I am not forcing the candidates to speak to me in a particular channel. So rather, I am meeting the candidates in the app or in the communication channel that is most comfortable for them.
Hey, Max, quick question. Can you explain what WhatsApp is? I'm not sure if recruiters over here, a lot of them know about it itself, because it's not very big in the US. But just tell them what it is.
Yeah, sure. Well, it's Facebook Messenger. Basically, it's owned by Facebook. It's owned by Facebook now, and let me see if I can show you. Well, it has all the same capabilities as Facebook Messenger, but it actually has a bigger international user base. It's used a lot basically in the US, it's not huge, but in Japan, it's not huge because you have Line, and in China, it's not huge because you have WeChat. But everywhere else in the world, almost, it's the #1 way people communicate. So it's like iMessage in the US. Like if you turn that off tomorrow, what would happen? That's the same thing as if you turned out WhatsApp. That's what would happen in the rest of the world.
How many people are on that? Do you know?
Yeah, I think it's like 1.5 billion active users every month. So wow. It's just simply insane. It's just, that's where everything happens. And now they enable everything like group video calls and everything. So it's full featured.
Okay.
Yeah. So of course we need that, but good old SMS works well too. So we can always do that, and we can enable two-way, of course, for that across multiple countries. So there you go.
Okay.
I'll continue. You got other questions on this part?
Nothing yet. So keep going.
Okay, great. And of course, I can send emojis. We're not old school. A bowl of rice for this candidates. Boom. So I can do all that.
Emojis will come in handy.
Excuse me.
There's where my recruiting emojis will come in handy, right there.
Exactly. And then we can also, of course, add some images and some GIFs and things like that. Send videos. So all that good stuff. And I could I could assign this candidate to a different recruiter. So our CRM is built so that there's a one-to-one that gets established in most cases, meaning one recruiter, one candidate. What I mean by that is so that when I click here and I go on my leads or my candidate specifically, if I'm doing high volume recruitment, I would typically have a few recruiters working for me on a specific rec. So it's important for my as the manager of that team, for me to be able to assign responsibilities to my team and say who owns what, who's in charge of which candidate, and with this, so that's why we do we make it possible to assign a recruiter and to move a candidate from one recruiter to another.
How do you, I have a question. How do your clients work this into their daily routine? Is it something that it's kind of always on? Is it something they go into semi-frequently during the day? How do they actually use it during the day?
Yeah, very good question. One that I'm going to switch off the video for a second to answer. The reason I do that is because can you see my screen here? Yes, you can.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So this is the same thing you've just seen, but in the hands of the recruiter. So typically the way they would use it, you'd have a large recruitment team, let's say 5-10 people working for one of our employers, one of our logos. So we work with big names like Walmart, Accenture, big recruitment firms, and so they normally have a team working on all of those requisitions, and they would have a handful of recruiters who would be logging into TalkPush and working on it all day. Typically they would start the morning. They would go look at all the candidates that have been scheduled that have been scheduled for a live interview, meaning either a phone interview or a face-to-face. That they would populate that list. They would send everybody a personal note to say, hey, we're looking forward to, just a reminder, we're talking today, we're looking forward to it. They would start with that. Then they may spend some time looking at the incoming folder, all the candidates that have come in. So I can show you in a minute. In fact, I'm going to go back to screen sharing for this bit. I can, so if I go in a particular campaign, let's say I'll go inside the marketing campaign. Let's say I'm in charge of that. So I would look at all the candidates that are in a completed folder, and I would see, and I would spend some time reviewing the applications. If it's an application where you get a lot of volume and you want to automate some of the shortlisting and the screening that happens, you can absolutely do that in the campaign settings. So you would go there and you would go inside smart filters and you would decide, okay, for question number 1, this is the answer that I want. And you could set it up where you have multiple choice questions. So you can eliminate candidates automatically. Are you and I could set up a multiple choice question. So for example, do you have any experience working in this field? Answer 1, 2, 3. People would pick 1, and if they pick 1 or 2, they pass. If they pick 3, they're rejected. So you set up these kinds of rules if you want, so that you only have the good candidates who come to the shortlisted folder. So that's how a lot of people work. Now that's not how everybody works. Some people they actually they want to have a more of an open mind. Or an open policy on who can apply and who might be good for the job, and they like to review every application one by one. And I think there's definitely some merits in that approach as well for some jobs, particularly if you ask a lot of open-ended question, like tell me why you want to work here, or tell me tell me about your past sales experience, for example. And so here, for example. Yeah, this is a good example. I'm looking to buy a plant for my home. You have a cactus you want to sell me. In a minute or less, please tell me why I should be buying your cactus. Okay, and then please text answer or audio answer, and we get an audio answer, and we can listen to the candidate. And we have a sales guy who is selling a cactus, which is sort of a new iteration on sell me this pen. And there's no AI that will really be able to rate that. You kind of have to listen to it. So for a lot of our activity, that's exactly what happens. They just spend a few minutes reviewing it. And I think you'll find that for a lot of assessment tools, even some people who've been there and who are leaders in the market, like HireVue, a lot of recruiters do spend time reviewing them one by one, because they think, I asked the candidates to spend a few minutes to record some answers. The least I can do is listen to them. And I think for a lot of our recruiters, that's valid.
We have a question from the audience, Max.
Oh, great.
Does TalkPush integrate with another ATS, or talk to us about that? Yeah,
we've integrated with all the big ones. So Workday and SuccessFactors, and we've integrated with homegrown ATSs, and we'll do it free of charge, of course, for any company that is at our any enterprise level customer. The integration can be really fast if all you want is to feed your ATS, which is the most common user case is you want to build a cool website that has a chatbot in it, and you want to enable what I just showed you on Facebook and some other channels like WhatsApp. no problem. We'll collect the candidate's data, we'll ask them questions, we'll build a profile, and then we'll feed the ATS, and then you take it from there. If you want to do a deeper integration where, for example, you would ask your ATS to schedule, your ATS would be the one that would be scheduling interviews with hiring managers, and you want to go back to our technology to message the candidate through SMS, for example. That's a two-way integration that could take a little bit longer, but it's also been done. So all of that can be done. The first 2 years in our company, I'll tell you, Chris, I was avoiding those things like the plague, because I thought, it's going to take us away from our core product. But over the last year and a half, like, we've been doing them nonstop because we realized that's how we can have the maximum impact from day one.
Cool.
All right.
How would so the chatbot sits on the job description, basically? Is that it from the candidate's perspective? Is it just a simple piece of code you put on your job description pages from an implementation standpoint?
Let me answer that the best I can. Maybe I go back to where we were before, where I was applying for a job through our website, right?
Okay.
Let's see. Maybe, apply for a job. Yes. So this is going to take a little too long. I don't want to bore your audience.
Okay.
I'll answer this with words, and hopefully that's enough. The candidates will come into a website like I showed you and start talking to the bot. The bot will ask questions like, where do you live and what do you want to do? That will connect a candidate to the best suitable job. So the bot will say, well, these are the 2 or 3 jobs that may be good for you. Are you interested? And if they say yes, then you would give them a link to a job description, and that could be, then it could be like a traditional application, like an ATS, where you have a job description, you fill in a form. And so you get most of your value from that conversational interface in capturing that initial data, converting the lead into a qualified lead, and getting the candidates from point A to point B being the right job. And so your key metrics there would be, what's their conversion rates for traffic, incoming traffic, and what's the quality of the candidate experience? How fast do they go from hello to I've applied? So that's one main user case. Now, what you asked me was, are we putting a bot inside the job description and inside the particular job? The answer to that question is yes, we are, but that's not where the most value is. Most of the value is at the front end,
Really?
where we're replacing that boring website where you go through long drop-down lists of cities, and then long drop-down lists of jobs. Then you have to do all of that stuff, and then you have to fill in a form, create a user profile, create a password, all that stuff. So that's where most of the work is where most of the focus is. So I think I answered your question.
Yeah. And what kind of conversion rates are you seeing? Can you talk about the stats there a little bit?
Well, it depends for each channel, but for somebody who's coming in with an incoming inquiry through social media, for example, so Facebook, we managed to get 34% of incoming traffic to apply for a job. For somebody who has started a job application, meaning they gave us, they said, I'm interested in this job. Do they finish the job application? We track that also month after month and week after week, I would say. It's around 70%. So that's on Facebook. On career website, again, the conversion rates will vary from one place to another. We adapt the designs to match the brand of each employer. But we've seen a 50% increase in, I know it's not exactly 50, it's probably more like 40 something, but 50 sounds better. Increase in conversion rates. So from people who are coming into the website how many of them are applying for a job, and that number is a little bit higher if you consider the number of people who come into your talent pool, your talent community. And you'd have a tradition on your website. You have like a different link for talent community and for job application. And usually different text to support them. If you have a bot that is the first thing that candidates see when they come in, then that can be one thing. It could be like, Chris, what's your name? What's your phone number? What's your email? Great. And by the way, what kind of job do you want? And I've got all the important information that I need, and then I can bring you down the recruitment funnel. So it depends how you measure those conversion rates. But across the board, people would rather answer a question when they're being addressed than when they're being asked to fill a form. And that's why all this activity is happening.
Yeah, I do think that the whole I was buying something online, I don't know, a few months ago, and I thought the registration process on this e-commerce site was just amazing because it was all questions. It was this little kind of chat bot, if you will, just asking me questions about my address, things like that. I thought it was just a great experience overall. It sounds like that's where you're headed with this in terms of that overall engagement with a candidate, and I think that's a great thing to do overall. So,
yeah, I think people are. All the great innovation in recruitment actually comes from sales and marketing.
Yeah,
and e-commerce is part of that. So that's my, as an entrepreneur, I don't try to be smart. I just try to copy what the good guys are doing on the sales and marketing side.
I think I equivalent an ATS with an e-commerce platform because they both do kind of the same thing. Just it's a different industry. They both, taking orders, picking candidates, right? So I used to be a recruiter for an e-commerce software company. It's where I saw the sameness there. Can
you imagine? Well, yeah. So I mean, if you do that comparison fully, then you can appreciate how far behind we all are and how much we need to get better at. Because you wouldn't want to sell products the way we're selling jobs today.
Right. Awesome.
Cool.
Anything else, Max?
Well, how are we doing on time?
We got 15 minutes, so kind of a free for all. So we can end now. Oh, we got another question. Hold on. Let's see here. So, question: what determines the default or first channel that the chatbot would use to reach the candidate, and can the candidate choose Facebook versus SMS?
Yeah, I'm having a problem with a screen share. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So a bit of a technical difficulty here, but I can totally answer that question. So the option is actually given to candidates by some employers. So they'll ask you, you can apply here, you can write to us, on SMS or on Facebook. They give them the option. Of course, for Facebook, a lot of the traffic is being generated through advertising. It's an advertising platform. So if you're going to be generating traffic from Facebook, then it's great to offer a fully native experience, not to ask people to jump from one platform to the next. So that's where most of the volume is going to happen on Facebook. And then SMS, of course, everybody's got it. So that's sort of a good default option for everyone else. And then for messaging apps like WhatsApp, you can do a query with the WhatsApp API. Ask them, I've got the phone number. Is this person on WhatsApp? And WhatsApp will tell you yes. Then you can go and deliver a message to them. So you'll have, if you go through Facebook or WhatsApp, you actually have a higher read rate and response rate than you do on SMS, and it costs you less money. So if you can, you should move those conversations to those platforms because people are more likely to respond. It's less spammy.
Gotcha. Okay.
Anything else you want to mention? Well, what else can I mention?
What have I not asked you that you usually get asked? What have I not asked you that maybe I should have?
I get the ATS question, so I already got that. I get asked. I get asked about what happens when the bot messes up, and what happens when you have candidates that are upset, and how do you avoid that? So I can talk a little bit about that. Happy to
Do you
do
have a story
so.
around that?
Story, well, it's when you work in technology, like it's the stories you mean they're more like scars,
Yeah.
so um, we learned the hard way that it's really easy to upset people sometimes, and that some candidates are very sensitive. So so when somebody is using sarcasm and say, "Oh, do you really think that's what I want?" or something like that,
I see.
and you have a cute bot that's trying to be cute, with an AI that says, "Oh, I don't know, maybe I do," and it could quickly escalate into a real heated conversation, and hard words can be used. The good thing is the AI is smart enough to recognize hard words. So the AI is terrible at recognizing sarcasm, but is really good at recognizing explicits. So as soon as your candidate gets to a level where it insults the bot, we have a default system that will stop the AI, stop the bot, and say, "Hey, I don't think I can answer that. Let me let me connect you with somebody from our recruitment team. Somebody will get back to you." So it took us a little while to get that down right, but that's pretty critical. And beyond the damage control mode, which is what I was describing, you can absolutely measure your bot's performance from a sentiment analysis standpoint. So, for example, how often will the candidates say nice things back to you? Simple things like "thank you." How often can you convert the process? So, from the point of did I answer your question, or finishing a job application? So you can, of course, track that, and you should whenever you build those tools. And there are a few others. Like re-engagement, how much time they're spending with the bot. These are all metrics that we measure for each bot and for each channel to make sure that there's continuous improvement. And so that's important. And for anybody who's interested and wants to go deeper into the topic, I will connect them with Christina, who is our head of conversational interfaces, and can give them an overview of all those metrics that I've described, so they can become. It doesn't take a long time to be an expert in the matter, since it's still relatively new. I can make any one of your listeners an expert, in a couple of sessions, probably.
All right. Well, appreciate the time today, Max. And feel free to put your email or phone number in the chat there if you want to give that away, or give Christina's away. And just end by telling us, what's next for WhatsApp. I mean, what's next for TalkPush? What's on the horizon for you guys as you enter into a new recruiting year here?
Well, I told you I was loaded with ATS integration work, and that's the hard reality. So we're doing a lot of that. I also showed you our mobile app, and I have we released that just a week or two ago, and I have great hope that this is going to transform the experience, because at any point in time, the recruiters will get a notification from their system on their phone, letting them know that they can take over the conversation, allowing them to take interview notes, and then we're going to push out the option to send out videos and little voice notes. So imagine this, Chris. You've interviewed with your candidate, you've interviewed with a job, and you've just left the interview. You're now getting a message on SMS or on Facebook from the hiring manager, who says, "Hey, it was really great to meet you, and looking forward for you to join in a couple of weeks," and things like that. So where you hear the voice, or you see the face of your hiring manager and your recruiter. So we want to enable that kind of experience, where it's not just a beautiful polished video showing you what the culture is at my workplace, but it's more of a personal touch approach where every hiring manager, every recruiter can send personal notes. So that's the technology that's coming out, and that's pretty, for me, that's exciting. It's the human touch.
Awesome. Well, we certainly look forward to what you guys are up to, Max. Keep us informed, and you're always welcome back. And I guess that'll be it for today, guys. So thanks for all coming. I'll shoot out the replay link after the show's over. And Max, thanks again for your time and attention today.
Thanks, Chris. Happy birthday.
All right. See you soon, guys. See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.